going on, guys, and welcome back. So we just finished up the LCS 11. They did use the new ban list. We're getting a new ban list that goes in effect as of today when you are seeing this, so that's all really cool, really awesome. What do you guys want now? We need a tier list. What decks are going to be the best? If you watched our ban list breakdown video where we talked about the ramifications of the ban list, not a live reaction, sorry, we don't do that around here, but we did give out our top 5 decks, and actually 4 of them were the 4 most played decks at the the LCS, and they performed rather well. And Dragon Link ended up winning the entire event, so I mean, shoutouts to them. Shoutouts to Ryan Yu going undefeated through Swiss, and I think a couple rounds of top cut with Dinosaurs. Like, didn't even drop a game until the top 4. Like, it was insane. He did really, really well. The guy wins with anything. You know, Sky Strikers without engage, he wins with. Dinosaurs, he wins with. Just incredible. Pilot. All that aside, we're gonna go ahead and start this out with the first deck on our list. Dinosaurs. We're not going to beat around the bush. Dinosaurs are a tier 1 deck. As you see here, we do 1, 2, 3 rogue. I don't like doing the half tiers. You might as well just do 1, 2, 3. Why do 1, 1.5, 2? Like, if that's what you're into, just pretend it's 1, 1.5, and 2, I guess, then rogue. I guess personally I just see it as 1, 2, 3. So tier 1 are the decks that you expect to see topping in droves. Tier 2 are decks you're not surprised at all to see topping. Tier 3 is decks that, like, if they top, they top, but you don't necessarily expect them to, but you're not really surprised. Rogue decks are decks with a good pilot. You're not surprised if they top, but if they don't have a good pilot, they're probably not going to top. Dinosaurs, I mean, they're really, really strong. Virtual World was a pretty bad matchup for them, and now that Virtual World and VFD in general got checked really, really hard, you know, Dinosaurs kind of come right back. Pretty strong deck. I don't know what else to say about it, like whether they're making the Wind Barrier lock or getting out the Mist Valley Apex Avian off the Simorgh, on top of making, you know, their Dolka, their Conductor, and a plethora of other things. They can also main like 12 hand traps or meta counters. Like, the deck is just scary good. It goes second, it goes first, and have you read Miss? These next deck we're going to talk about, Infernobles. So we haven't really seen them do a whole lot, so we can't put them up too high, but they do still have, you know, decent combos, and like, with the right player, I do think they are a good deck and can see success. We are going to leave them in Rogue just for the fact that I don't really know if too many people are playing them. Let us know about what you think about all of our picks as we go through this down in the comment section down below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all those good things. We really appreciate it. We do have a lot of meta counters, how to beat series coming on, like the top tier decks here, where we'll break down what they do, how to beat them, how to side verse them, going first, going second, what to hand trap, anything you could want to know. Like we said, Virtual World did get hit and checked pretty hard, but I still got them as a tier 2 deck. I'm not saying that the hand loop variant is like, oh, they're gonna hand loop you consistently through hand traps. I'm not saying that. I just think that the deck is still playable and strong, and that given some more time, people are going to play it and find routes where, you know, they don't make the VFD, obviously, but they can end with still, like, Crocodragon and Shen for the pop, and the macro on field, and the trap for another pop. And, like, they still have lines of play, and they can do things. So, again, not saying, like, the hand loop's going to ruin the format or anything like that, but just Virtual World as a whole, I think, is still a good tier 2 deck. Guru, more importantly, like Guru Dragoon, they're a really strong tier 3 deck. Not too many people play them. I think it's just because, like, once people start playing back row hate, it's a big disadvantage of Guru, and like sometimes they just open awkward where it's just playing just Guru or their Dragoon pass, and both of them can be a little bit lackluster in the meta game as a whole. So I do think that's a big reason why, but like, if you're not prepared for it, Guru can ruin your day. Another back row deck that we're going to mention here quickly, Altergeist. They're just not quite seeing that play. I got them like right there with Guru. Like, these two are almost interchangeable, but they're seeing just not a whole lot of play. So we're going to leave Altergeist in our Rogue strategy. There's going to be all kinds of decks, guys, that we leave out that could be in Rogue, and like we're not gonna build a huge one. If you want to see a really big in-depth tier list, go check out Pack's channel. He did like 50 decks or something crazy like that with Nesh. I sat through and watched it. It's like an hour long, and they had a lot of really, really good points. But we just got 20 decks for you guys here today, so we're going to keep on moving through them. Add Emancipator, whether they're playing the Prank Kids or they're not, they're a good combo deck. They make some really good boards, but they just, like, they're not seeing too much play, but they are seeing some. I'm not surprised if they top, but I don't really expect them to top, so to me, that's a tier 3 deck. A deck I'm actually pretty excited for, and our video on this deck will actually be up pretty shortly here. We got it all recorded and edited, just gotta put it on here on the schedule for you guys. Buster Blader, and we're personally playing it. It pairs up really, really good with like Dragoon and really, really good with Dogmatica, and you can actually fit all three in together without them conflicting at all or getting in each other's way, and you'll typically be able to do like at least 2 of them, and like the play lines are really, really cool and strong. We got replays, we got the deck profile. Make sure you stick around to check it out. The next tier 1 deck, this was my pick for the best deck. As soon as I saw the ban list, I was like, okay, Eldritch is the best deck. They were already one of the big 3. They went untouched. They're the best deck. A lot of people said Dragon Link right away. I think they're like hand in hand, like really, really close as to which one is which. The LCS saw 40 players playing Eldritch overall, 18 Zoo Eldritch, and then 22 other variants, whether it was Pure, whether it was Dragoon, whether it was something else altogether. Eldritch is super strong, super recursive, really grindy, just really overall good, strong, successful, proven to be amazing tier 1 deck. Like, there's no question about it. Well, given the player base for the majority of people who watch our videos, it just would not be right if we didn't talk about Cyber Dragons. Man, they're in a interesting place because like there's so many variants and ways you can play Cyber Dragons, whether you want to play like the Trap Dogmatica build that if you check out Alex Yugioh's channel, he has back-to-back top 8 MBT's tournaments online, the 128 person ones, or whether you're playing like Pure with Dupe like James Jung and you want to check out Hakuna Maidata. We actually just collaborated and did a really awesome video on how many Galaxy Soldier to play, 2 or 3, and if it really matters once you break down the numbers and the test hands. So lots of good things there. I just don't know if there's that many top players playing Cyber Dragons, but if you get this deck in the hands of a good player, I would not be surprised at all to see it top, because I mean, when you put it in the hands of a really good player, they are seeing success with it, but overall the deck is just not seeing a ton of success. ABC, deck's really strong. I'm not gonna waste too much time here on this anymore, but ABC, like, as soon as Carrier got hit, I was like, okay, ABC Synchro, the deck's still alive, deck's still strong, deck was still good before Carrier came out. But then I was going to revamp my ABC Dogmatica list, and I started taking out the Galaxy Soldiers and the Photon Orbitals, and I was like, you know, these cards are kind of clunky anyway, and instead of making Infinity, we just get forced to go to the IP route where we have IP and now Platinum Gadget. So we have our Buster and we have the IP play, whether you want to go into a Unicorn, into an Avermax, into an Appaloosa, into a Goddess of the Underworld. Like, the deck still got really good plays, and that's just ABC. We paired it up with Dogmatica. You can check out the video on the channel, and you might say, oh, but then you're locked out of the extra deck. Yeah, but it rarely actually matters, because just the way that the deck functions as a whole, because if you're using punishment and popping their board, you already banished with your ABC too, and you're taking out, and more often than not, if that's the case, like, you're in such a great position advantage wise that you're going to win that game anyway. A deck that really kind of let me down at the LCS, their representation, I think they had 11 players overall. Bird Up, I mean, I'm still gonna leave them up here. I had them as like no question tier 2, but they're starting to like flounder a little bit. Like, is the format just not quite as good now? Is the were people just too ready for it? This is probably near the back end of tier 2, but it's still a tier 2 deck. It's still a really strong deck. So Bird Up, Lyrilusc, Tri Brigade, for those who don't know the Yu-Gi-Oh slang, is tier 2. Zodiac, not talking Zodiac Eldritch. Zodiac Eldritch is up here with Eldritch. Zodiac, I still think that they're a really strong deck. Zeus is an incredibly strong card. and Dryden's pretty good too. The deck is so consistent. The deck can fit so many hand traps, counters, like for the meta. It can fit like a toolbox of so many different things, and it's just really, really good and consistent overall. So Zodiac without Eldritch is still a tier 2 deck. Mech Knights here, talking pure Mech Knights. So pure Mech Knights are a really good deck. They're really strong, and like if you get the right pilot behind this deck, it does really, really good. You're going to see that with all these rogue decks, I think. I don't think that there's that many great pilots playing Mech Knights right now currently, and that's why I can't really put them up any higher. But I do think it's a really strong deck that a lot of people overlook. You can pair it up with like Invoked, like we just saw. There was one in the top 16 of the LCS who was Invoked Mech Knights. But Mech Knights is a pure deck. I still think are a rogue deck. The fact that they can just use their columns and their traps and their spells to summon from the deck on your turn and just like shut off your columns and move their cards with Indigo around in your columns or in their columns to negate like your spells, your traps, or your monster effects. Like the deck's crazy, and once it snowballs, like you really can't do much of anything. We already mentioned it, that we said it's one of the best decks. So Dragon Link, should LP have been hit a few formats ago maybe. I don't think this past ban list it should have been hit. I like when a deck actually is doing a little more currently to get hit. Like if we're going to play that past game, like Trickstar Reincarnation should get hit hard because, a few years ago it got abused. Like the deck's got to be doing a lot at the moment to get hit. I do think LP's time will come after we get the Dreg Unity support in a format or two with it. And then like once they sell that product, I think LP will go and they'll tone back the Dragons a little bit, but they're still going to be really strong. There's so much good generic Dragon support out there. But Dragon Link we had as our number 2 deck, we had said in the ban list video, and Dinos coming in at 3. Those are going to be our 3 tier 1 decks. Spoiler alert, none of these decks are going to make it up to tier 1. But those were our picks for best 3 decks of the format: Eldritch, Dragon Link, Dinosaurs, and our number 1 deck was actually the one of the 3 who did not make the top. At our top 4 decks, actually the top 4 of the LCS were the 4 decks that we picked to be the best 4 decks. So that was kind of neat, except our 1st and 4th ended up taking 3rd and 4th. But nonetheless, it was still pretty cool. Prank Kids, love the deck. It's so much fun to play. It can like blow up back row, it can blow up monsters. Meow Meow just makes the deck literally have like up to 16 1-card starters, which is just insane. But like I have them as tier 2. They're not tier 1 by any means, and I don't know if I'd quite drop them down to tier 3. Like people play it and people see success. It seems like every big tournament, the LCS just happened and another Prank Kid topped. It seems like every LCS recently and like all these other bigger tournaments, one Prank Kids is topping. So I think it's pretty safe to put them into the tier 2 category. Here we're going to mention our Shaddolls, and this is more Shaddol in a pure sense, like the trap builds, the not Invoked Dogmatica. I guess you could throw Invoked in here with it, but like Invoke Shaddol or Trap Shaddol, just not with the Dogmatica engine. The Dogmatica engine is going to kind of fall into this one that we'll talk about in a little bit. So, I mean, the deck's still crazy strong, popping out Winda on your opponent's turn, Schism being able to banish the card on the field, right? Like that you whatever one you fusion summon to, like they have, and, all the graveyard effects, like they're so recursive, so strong, so good. And that's why I think that we are seeing them have a resurgence in success, and the price point for some of the cards personally I think are starting to get justified, like Shaddol Schism. But yeah, so I mean I think Shaddolls are really probably one of the more overlooked tier 2 decks. Like when people think when they look at this list, that'll probably be the one that stands out, that they're like, why is that deck ahead of some of these ones? But I definitely think it does warrant its spot up there. PK. PK's pretty rogue. I keep expecting this deck to do more, and I keep hoping for the deck to do more. One of these days they are at the LCS. I know I'm mentioning that a lot, but I mean it's the first big event that we've had with using the new list, mostly in part because the new list goes into effect today, and it just happened over the weekend. But they did see some play, so I really hope and wonder if players are going to jump on it and really refine this deck down and get it to where it can compete. You know, it's a new format. We'll see what happens with it. I'm really excited. I like this format way more than the previous ones. So Invoked Dogmatica, and this is with or without the Shadal package. It was our 4th place deck that we had picked on our top 5. Leerless Tri-Brigade Bird Up was our number 5 deck. Like I said, they kind of flopped on us a little bit, but nonetheless, they're still a pretty strong deck. Yeah, Invoked Dogmatica with or without the Shadal package, just really, you know, strong. You know, the free Macabre every single turn that you want it, you know, and you can go into like your Purgatrio, your the new one that pops cards, the Augadius, or however you pronounce its name. Like, the toolbox is just so incredibly strong. And I mean, other than Droll, like, hand traps don't necessarily, I don't want to say don't do a lot. Like, Gamma and Alistair can really hurt because then they can't get an extra deck monster on board to special the Ecclesia and go into that line of play. But when they have their back row to fall back on if things aren't going good, it's just really, really good and strong in their favor. Union Carrier got hit, which really hurt the resiliency of the deck, and Bent into 1 hurts the consistency and the ability to break boards because they can't just Natasha in a turn. They can't just Benton for Benton for Benton for Benton like 30 times for what it feels like. But I still think the deck is relevant, and I think it's going to continue to see play and that it will get better. I don't know if it'll go up too much, but there are going to be some people who continue to play it, and I won't be surprised to see it pop up here and there in different top cut reports. And finally, because the last 2 times we did this, we said we would, Melfi is the best deck of the game. There's no question about it, but I believe he played Tri-Brigade and the Dogmatica engines in it, which does knock it down a little bit. So we're going to put Melfi, Tri-Brigade, Dogmatica in Rogue. Shoutouts to Melfi. I know you're going to watch this video. Comment down below. We got your deck on there. It's up there. But in all reality, the deck is, I don't want to say great, but I mean, I didn't know what it did, and he caught me so off guard. I forgot which deck I was playing at the time, but he won that one, so we'll get back at it when next time. Now we have a little more understanding on what they do, but it's just kind of one of those decks that you see it and like your opponent plays like Melfi Rabby or whatever they start with, like the dog or cat or whatever they are, and you're just like, oh, it's Melfi, they're trash, and then you kind of stop paying attention, and next thing you know, like, everything's happening so fast and you already lost the game. So I mean, I'm gonna throw Melfi up there in the Rogue for him. Let us know what you think about this list overall in the comment section down below. What decks are too high, what decks are too low, and what are some other Rogue decks? Like I said, there's a plethora of them, and we're just not going to put them all on here, but comment down below which decks you feel should make it onto Rogue, or even if we missed some higher tier decks. But thanks for watching, guys. Until next time.